September 1944. The outskirts of a bombed-out French village lay in smouldering ruins. Buildings had collapsed into piles of rubble. Smoke and dust thickened the air, and the cries of the wounded cut through the deafening roar of artillery fire. Tanks rumbled down shattered streets, and planes screamed overhead, releasing bombs that sent clouds of debris spiraling into the sky. Amidst this chaos, a small field hospital clung precariously to life, its walls trembling with every nearby explosion. Inside, moving calmly, yet with unwavering determination, was Margaret Thompson, a young American nurse of barely 25. Her hands moved quickly but precisely, tending to the injured, comforting the terrified, and shifting bodies to safer corners of the crumbling building. Outside, the commanding officers had issued the evacuation order. Every soldier, nurse, and medic capable of moving was to leave immediately. But Margaret stayed. She could have fled, and perhaps survived, yet she refused. Why would a single young woman, unarmed and alone, choose to remain in a place where death seemed inevitable? That decision, made in the shadow of annihilation, would become a story of courage and compassion, remembered quietly among the few who survived. The wounded lay in rows, their injuries a grim testament to the horrors of war. Broken limbs, burns, and shrapnel wounds filled the wards, many too weak to even lift their heads. As planes screamed overhead, Margaret shifted between them, dragging unconscious men to safer corners, applying bandages with meticulous care, and whispering words of comfort to those who could hear. Each explosion shook the fragile structure, sending dust and debris raining down, yet her hands remained steady. Sweat mixed with blood on her face, her uniform torn and stained, but her determination never wavered. She became the heart of that hospital, a human shield against the chaos outside. Soldiers clutched her hands for reassurance, drawing courage from her calm resolve. Every life she saved was a quiet rebellion against fear and death, each small act of care a triumph in a night consumed by destruction. Hours stretched into eternity. The hospital groaned under the weight of explosions, and the floor beneath trembled with each distant shell. Yet Margaret continued her work, checking pulses, tending burns, and lifting the fallen with strength that seemed superhuman. Other nurses had fled, leaving her alone to face the horrors that most could not even imagine. Dust stung her eyes, smoke filled her lungs, yet she moved tirelessly, a silent beacon of hope. Outside, soldiers and civilians alike scrambled through streets filled with fire and chaos, but inside, Margaret created a fragile sanctuary. Her courage radiated to the wounded, giving them a reason to fight, a reason to hold on when all else seemed lost. As night descended, the din of battle persisted, but the evacuation convoy finally approached. Soldiers and medics rushed inside, ready to transport the injured to safety. They found Margaret still kneeling beside a young soldier, his breaths shallow but steady. Every patient she had saved, every life preserved, was a direct result of her refusal to leave. The commanding officer, who had once questioned her disobedience, now understood the magnitude of her bravery. Her calm and decisive actions had saved dozens of lives that night, and though her name would never headline newspapers, it became legend among the few who witnessed her courage firsthand. Margaret's heroism was not marked by medals or public recognition, but by the lives she preserved and the hope she inspired. She had taken on a role that demanded unwavering courage, unmatched determination, and limitless compassion. Her story reminds us that heroism does not always roar. Sometimes it is quiet, steadfast, and human. Amidst the rubble, fire, and smoke, a single nurse stood firm when the world demanded retreat. She became a symbol of humanity, of bravery, and of the indomitable spirit that refuses to abandon those in need, even in the face of almost certain death. Today, the legacy of Margaret Thompson continues to resonate. Her courage is a lesson in selflessness, a testament to the extraordinary strength of ordinary people. In a world torn apart by war, she refused to abandon hope. She refused to leave the wounded, and she transformed fear into survival. Her actions illuminate the power of compassion and courage, proving that even in the darkest hours of history, one individual can make the difference between life and death, despair and hope. Margaret's story remains a timeless reminder that true heroism is not only measured in victories on the battlefield, but in the unwavering commitment to protect and preserve life against all odds.